Hey everybody, I'm William Green. These are my green pets, and the green room, the indoor orchid grow room, is looking kind of empty. Why? Well, the weather has warmed up outside, and I have set up the shade tent and taken several, I would say, of my hardier, tougher orchids outside to deal with the weather for the rest of the month. It is getting a little bit cool at night, low teens in the Celsius and low in the low 50s in the Fahrenheit scale, but I think the plants that I've taken out there, they can handle it. We'll go out there in a minute and have a look. But there's a couple of exciting things happening in here. Recently I've just been so interested in watching Ed's channel with Ed's Orchids, because his multifloral paths and his Phragmipediums, they just look so lush and green and healthy and beautiful. It's just really motivated me to pay extra special attention to my multiflorals. And I will say that 4 of them look very, very promising for blooms this year, and they will all be just awesome. So if that actually pans out and 4 of my multiflorals bloom this year, I am going to be tickled pink. Absolutely couldn't be happier about that. The new growths on Mormodia Jumbo World are getting taller, and you can see little roots poking out there. What I've done is, and I know this is probably too early, but I just couldn't help myself, I have started to water this very, very lightly. What I did was, the dish underneath the plant, I added a little bit of water in there and let the sphagnum just kind of soak it up. So it's by no means wet, just barely slightly damp. And I'm hoping that that is not going to cause any problems for the plant, not going to cause any rot or anything, but give the newly emerging roots just a little bit of moisture. I know I'm not supposed to do this, but I just couldn't help it, so hopefully it'll be okay. We'll just call it another experiment. The newest growths on these Cattleya Rex seedlings are starting to open up. If we look over here at this one, for example, this is the first one. That new pseudobulb, you can see the leaf is starting to split open. And I always think that that's kind of exciting when it goes from a 2-dimensional thing to a 3-dimensional thing. But yeah, I like these. I like the way that they're growing, and I just can't wait until I get my first blooms on these guys. In the last episode, I took a look at this Frag Grande, and I said, it's dealt with rot, and it's dealt with a hailstorm. Well, of course, the next day after I made that video, I looked down and I could see that this growth was starting to rot again, and it didn't take very long for the rot to spread. I mean, it just was like a little streak the first day, and now it's going to pretty much take the whole leaf. Now, what I've done, you may remember from the fall, what I did last time that this rot set in was, instead of removing the leaf and the growth and everything like I've done in the past, and like you're recommended to do, I just left it. I mean, I just left the plant to deal with it on its own. And I moved it over here close to the fan so that it's getting more air circulation than it would. And it worked in the fall, and it seems to be working again. The rot has stopped. I mean, it was advancing very, very quickly. It probably advanced to this point in 2 or 3 days. And that was several days ago, and it has stopped. It's not advancing anymore. So I'm hoping that it will stop where it is, and I might lose this leaf, but hopefully I won't lose this growth. Of course, this growth's only got 2 leaves left on it, but I don't know if rot, if that Erwinia bacteria, if it just stays in the plant and just rears its ugly head when conditions are favorable. I don't quite know, but it seems to me that this plant is it carries the bacteria inside of it somehow, and just every once in a while it's able to get the better of the plant's defenses and start taking over. So I really don't know what I can do. I know you're supposed to remove the growths, but I can't. I mean, I can't remove this. This is the main growth, and this is just a new growth that doesn't even have any roots yet. So I mean, I can't do anything. I just have to hope that the plant can overcome it like it did last time. And I wish I knew what I did that changed the conditions that caused the bacteria to start growing again, but I just can't imagine. I didn't do anything differently. Maybe it's possible a little water may have gotten in the crevices between the leaves, and that was enough, combined with the warmer temperatures. Temperatures have increased a couple degrees, so maybe that's all that it needed. Anyway, I think it's going to live, but I don't know if it's going to do much more than that. Maybe just live. Here's a couple of my mounted Cattleya seedlings. Aren't they cute? They've been stuck to this piece of wood for almost 3 years now. They started out, if you see the leaves back here, these leaves, the smaller ones, those were the original leaves, and then it's kind of produced these other ones in that time. And now it's got its first real actual pseudobulb. So proud of it. They just look good. And of course the roots are doing well. I'll try not to smash them. They kind of get sensitive at the end there. Isn't that nice? And then it wraps them around underneath the piece of wood. Oh, don't mash it. But yeah, I love these. Okay, well that's it for the green room. Let's go upstairs and have a look at the Brassia, which is looking so much better this week than it did last week. And then we'll go outside to the shade tent and see who's hanging out, literally hanging out there. Okay, well I complained last week that these flowers had come out a hot mess, but the plant must have heard me, because the rest of the flowers have come out more or less in a very nice way. Not perfect, but not bad at all. You're just going to take a few minutes to go up and down the spike and just really appreciate these flowers. They don't last a really long time, at least they haven't for me. Last year it was somewhere around 3 weeks, not quite a month. Last year I remember commenting that Brassias are really hard to photograph because of their long, skinny flowers, and if you get close to it to capture the detail, you lose the effect of the spidery flowers. But then if you back up to show everything, you end up missing the details. Apparently these flowers really are supposed to resemble spiders, because there are wasps in the rainforest that try to attack them and somehow pollinate them in the process. Someone asked me if the clonal name for this was Galaxy, and I told them I didn't know. It didn't come with a clonal name. The plant came from Calipana tropicals, so if you really, really wanted to find out, you might be able to find out that way. But the flowers do definitely look interstellar. So if I had to give this plant a clonal name, that would be it. Interstellar. I've been having an issue with this plant that maybe one of you can help me with, if you would. The leaves on this plant, the older leaves become very, very spotted, and then they drop off. All these pseudobulbs came to me with leaves on them, but they've just dropped. Several have dropped in the past couple months, and it just keeps following the same pattern. It just gets these nasty spots on the leaves, and then they eventually, once they get spotty enough, they just turn yellow and fall right off. Really frustrating, because I mean, I don't have a clue why. The humidity has been in the 60s and 70s all winter. It's not really close to the light. Um, I feel like the watering has been okay. It's got new growths pushing out. So if anyone's got any ideas, I'd like to hear them. All right, let's end today's episode by going outside and checking out the shade tent setup for this year. Well, the temperatures have been acceptable in the past week to take the orchids outside, and so I put the shade tent up as quickly as I could, and I've put out several of the plants that I think can handle it if it swings a little bit on the cool side, low 50s or around 10 degrees Celsius. It had been such a long time since I've seen the plants under natural light that I just really enjoyed kind of walking around outside and just looking at them for the first time under real light for several months. I also am experimenting this year with different ways of hanging them up. Like, for example, I've got this cable going from the side up to the top, and I've got little loops in it, and every loop I'm hanging a plant. So we'll just see how this all works out. Not long after I put the tent up, the orchids got their first taste of the spring rain. Well, that's all for this week, guys. I'm William Green, and these are my green pets. And I'm going to leave you with a scene from my drive home from Chicago a couple weekends ago. It was very inspiring to me. I hope you enjoy it. See you next time.